Right now, we're in the middle of a massive global frequency change. And while I'm hearing rumblings about how we're moving from this tribal energy into this more personal, sovereign energy, there's an aspect of this that I'm not hearing talked about enough. So we're going to talk about it today. Right now, there is a massive shift in a lot of ways around moving from a place of knowing something, having the knowledge and awareness of something no longer being enough in our lives. Why you're having this feeling like you know so much about yourself, you know so much about the world, you know so many things about so many things, but it's not enough to move the needle. We're going to talk about briefly a couple of things that are important to understand about this shift that is happening in 2027, but that has been underway really since 2020. And it will be lasting until 2438. And that is the human design global frequency change of 2027. In the human design world, this is a huge thing that we talk about, and we're seeing it coincide with a lot of other astrological cycles that are happening at the same time. And human design is actually a synthesis of astrology, I Ching, Kabbalah, and the Hindu chakra system. So it makes sense that there is a coinciding energy shift happening across these different systems. Now, just like the earth has seasons and cycles, human design has it as well. In 2027, we are moving out of the cross of planning that we've been in since 1617, which is an incarnation cross of 4 different human design gates. And we are moving into the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And we're going to stay there from 2027 to 2438. So we are really in unprecedented times. I know we hear that a lot since 2020, but it's so true. In human design, 7 years is a very important year for deconditioning, even though the shift is 2027, started in 2020. So that kind of makes sense. This video will not be going deep into the 2027 shift. It will be going deep into an aspect of it, but I have an older video about 2027. I'm going to continue to make those videos because we are really in the thick of it right now. I just want you to know that's what I'll be referring to as the cross of planning and the cross of sleeping phoenix. Second, this is important. Human design projectors are the people who are here to guide the shift. If you are a projector, if you know a projector, if you have no idea if you're a projector or you know one, I have a chart calculator on my website, nejat.com, that you can see. You can get your astrology and your human design chart, and I'll tell you what your type is. Projectors are here to guide the shift. And I'm going to be talking about this more as well as a projector myself. But that's an important thing to just get aside. Okay. Then, what I want to talk about today, what I am not seeing really anybody talking about much, maybe just a handful of people that is really a big part of this, is that when we move through these cycles, the cycles move backwards. So if you're familiar with astrology, this is how the nodes work as well. They don't start at 1 degree of a sign, they start at 29 degrees of a sign. Similar with human design. As I mentioned, human design is based off of a synthesis of many things, including the I Ching. Now, in the I Ching, there are 6 lines in each hexagram. Same with human design. Each gate has 6 lines. When we move from the cross of planning into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, we move into the 6th line of all those 4 gates. If this doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter because I'm going to explain to you what that actually means for us. Since 1960, we have been in a line 1 energy. Line 1 is the foundation. It is about information, it is about authority, it is about learning and giving information. The way that this has shown up in our lives when we look purely at the line is that credentials have given authority. The people who know more have been given the authority in a lot of ways. 2020 was a major shift in that, right? When we started seeing people who had the doctors and all these different letters after and before their name, people started questioning them. Like maybe they don't know what's correct just because they have that, right? And we saw them competing, right? People who had the same credentials saying very different things and that becoming a time of mass confusion. This energy, line one, is authority based on information. And it's also a lot about learning foundations, going to school, getting those credentials, it matters, right? This is where you get a lot of power from. In 2027, when we move into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, we are moving into the sixth line energy. The sixth line is fundamentally different than all the other lines. Whenever I work with a sixth line person, I have a lot of sixth line people in my world. I always tell them, you guys are very, very different because you have three different life phases. But the sixth line is called the role model. The first line is called the investigator. The sixth line is not about information. It's about embodiment, living the values. And that takes time. That's why I always tell sixth lines, you got to be patient with your life because the level of embodiment of the values that you have to express takes time. Embodiment is a slow process. My work is the intersection of cosmic systems, archetypal systems, and the body. And this is because my life has been marred with illnesses of all sorts, physical, mental, emotional, severe chronic pain. And now that I sit on the other side of those things and I see all of those as my teachers, and I'm grateful for them for being in my life to show me my way back into my body, this is why, part of the reason why, so much of my work is focused on the body. And because I am noticing with all of these different transits that are happening, Uranus moving into Gemini, staying there for 7 years, right? So we're going to have Uranus in Gemini until 2033. Pluto in Aquarius until 2044. Yes. Those energies are going to bring a lot of information and knowledge into the world that we have to be very discerning with. So what that means for us is that line one breakdown means that information out in the world is no longer the thing that really grasps us anymore. What does it mean to embody? What does it mean to be embodied? This is a hot word nowadays. You know, everyone's talking about embodiment. What does that mean? And I truthfully, I think there's a lot of different ways that you can take it, right? A lot of people may see embodied in one way or another. And for me, it truly does include the body. And that's, like I said, because of my past experiences of feeling at war with my body for so many years and then recognizing that there was never a war. Um, yeah. And the wisdom of the body. And so listening to that and infusing that with our archetypal knowledge to allow authenticity to arise rather than to be externally imposed. A lot of times when we are looking to cosmic systems, even like Enneagram, right? Or the personality types, the Jungian personality types based off Jungian cognitive functions, astrology, human design, there's a lot of imposing energy there. Oh, you're a projector. Oh, that means this, And so, how do we find our own authentic aliveness in that, right? How do we actually emerge from that space rather than being told, oh, this is what I should be doing or should not be doing? That to me requires coming deeply back into connection with the body. One of the gates that is illuminated in this cross of sleeping phoenix is going to be gate 59, which is deeply about intimacy, deeply about connection. But that starts with our connection to ourselves. And this is why personal sovereignty is going to become a really big deal. So here's what I want you to know. And I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk about how this is going to affect consumers and creators, knowing darn well that both of those can coexist. You can be a consumer and a creator, right? I'm a creator. I also consume. Or you may not think that you're a creator. I will say 2027 is going to ask for a lot of people to come out of their shells and to be more creative and to start embodying their gifts and putting it out to the world. It is no longer enough to know what to do. We are going to become very, very discerning about which people are actually walking the walk, not being perfect, but are walking the walk and taking accountability when the time comes, who are living their values. Those become the new guides. Those become the people that we look to tell us what I don't even like to say what we should do, but what is the path? Learn to trust your body before your eyes, before your ears. With the advent of AI as well and the progress of AI getting crazier and crazier and better, it's going to be really important for us to trust that signal that says, I don't think that's real. Or I'm not sure if that's correct. And so many of us, for decades and decades and decades, have buried those signals underneath, "Oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that," which, all of these things we've dissociated from those signals, or we hear that twinge and we're like, whatever, it's not a big deal. But it is a big deal. How do we move from line one, knowing, into line six, embodiment? When last year, I quit my job as a pharmacist and just started doing this full time. I had no idea what it was gonna look like on the other side. I had been making content, but I didn't have a business. I didn't have clients. I didn't know how I was going to make money. And I remember one of the reasons why I did it was because I was wanting to tell people, you got to live an authentic life. You got to live an authentic life. But I was working as a pharmacist when I didn't want to be doing that. It wasn't in alignment with my values. It wasn't what I wanted to be doing. And I knew that I couldn't really come here and look you in the face, my camera in the face, but you as well, and tell you to live an authentic life and do what you love when I wasn't willing to take the risk. So I had to become an embodiment of my message before I could say it. I mean, integrity is the most important thing to me, and I couldn't say it. And I even remember I did mushrooms and years and years ago. And the mushrooms, I just remember they were like, dude, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, you've got so much freaking awareness. You just got to start actually living it. And then you can speak from that place. And you know what? I trust that when we start doing the work of really listening to the body's signals, we will be able to discern which people are telling us something which they're not actually living. Let's talk about how this is going to affect us as a consumer and as a creator. But once again, I will urge anybody who is feeling disconnected in their lives, who feels that urge or that push, like they're here for more, to listen to that. This is part of the reason why I just started doing my program, Creative Rewilding, which it closes for enrollment for this round April 21st. But that's part of the reason, because there's a lot of people out there who may not even identify as a creative, right? When I was a pharmacist, I wasn't creating anything, but a creative it's a soul's urge. It's not always proven to us by our external reality. And what I find through working with a lot of people who are successful but feel really disconnected, and that's coming through their body, right, through anxiety or chronic pain or all these symptoms, is that when I work with them, we find that there is actually an old creative soul in there, a creative urge in there that's just been buried under responsibility. So I'm very familiar with this. That's what I did for most of my adult life. Even as a kid, I was buried under what I knew I had to do in order to become a useful member of society, But now I feel more useful than ever because I've stepped into personal sovereignty, into my own power, right? And it's possible for all of us. And this is what this energy is calling into. For my consumers, people who are like, nope, I don't have any urge to create. I don't have any urge to be seen or whatever out there in the world. I don't want to share my gifts. Practice becoming more discerning on who you listen to. Listen to that voice internally that says, I don't know. I'm not sure. I know that person has doctor and, this letter and board certified and this, but I don't know. I'm just not sure if I trust that. Let me do some of my own research. And the best way to do this, number one, is to slow it down. I mean, this is really it's difficult to say it in one video because it's such a process, but really it's about pausing. It's about pausing. It's about listening to the raw physical sensations in our body. This is how we heal the nervous system. The nervous system, the body, they speak in sensation, not feelings, not stories, not words. Sensation. All my work, all creative rewilding, inner evolution immersion, which the latter is more foundational. There's more somatics there. Creative rewilding is safety and action paired together. The somatics is the mechanism of transformation. When you know everything you could possibly know and something is not shifting in your life, there is a pattern, a sensation in the body that you are trying to avoid subconsciously, right? The subconscious and the body work in tandem. That's why I love working with Jungian psychology and somatics at the same time. So slow down, listen to those voices that say, no, that doesn't feel quite right. If you are a creator, someone who wants to share their gifts with the world in one way or another, service, entrepreneur, side hobby, look at one part of your life that you are struggling with and ask yourself, in this area, what is one value that I hold that I can get 10% better at embodying? Where in your life is there a mismatch between what you say and what you do? Because as you start sharing your gifts, as the consumers start getting more discerning, you want to be able to embody that role model energy. The role model is not about what we say, it's about what we do. It's about how we live. I personally, I'm not a 6'9", I'm a 3'5", but personally, I'm very excited to see this shift in the world. There is so much freedom in releasing the need, and we're seeing the breakdown anyways of the educational system. Even the courses that content creators make, they have to change because information is just at our fingertips. Everywhere we look, we don't need more of it. We don't need more awareness. We need to be taught how to bring that awareness that lives up here into the body, into the 3D world, into our physical reality. So we can stand in front of people, right? This creativity, all humans are creative. We can stand in front of another person and say something, and really our whole body believes it. And there's a difference in that. And people can feel that. When you say to somebody, I will not be spoken to this way, it's not just words, right? That's the change that happens when that awareness actually comes deeper into your body. And this is sovereignty. Yes. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you next time.